Hi, welcome back to the Distressed Princess. I'm Rhonda, and in today's video, I will show you how easy it is to convert an Epson EcoTank printer into a sublimation printer. And I'm using Wokok products to make my very first sublimation print. If you are interested in sublimation at all, this is hands down the easiest and cheapest way to get started. And here is a sneak peek at what I'm going to make after I get this printer converted. So you're going to want to stick around to see how easy this is. The Epson EcoTank series of printers is what you're looking for when you go to buy a printer to convert into a sublimation printer. And this is the model that I have, the 2760. And here is everything that came in the box. It came with its own ink, but you're not going to use the Epson ink. We're going to fill the tanks with the Wokok sublimation ink. The instructions for this printer are very clear and easy to understand, and the first thing it tells you to do is remove all of the plastic secure pieces. So all of the stickers, front, back, and even look inside the printer to make sure that you get all of those blue stickers removed. And the next step is to fill the tanks with sublimation ink. Now it's very important that you don't mix inks. Once this is a sublimation printer, it's always a sublimation printer. You cannot fill sublimation ink and then go back and use regular ink and go back and forth. It has to always stay the same kind of ink. The way that you get to the ink tanks is to open up the scanner part and it will stay open, and then you pop open the part right here that covers the ink tanks. Now we're ready to fill the tanks, and I'm using the Wokok sublimation ink, and I'll be reviewing for them. And here is what is inside the box. The ink that is used in all printers is yellow, magenta, cyan, and black. And they also provided some plastic gloves to protect your hands. Filling these tanks really could not be easier. I was so surprised at how easy this went. So you have your labels on the printer that coincide with the labels on the ink so that you know which ink goes in which tank. So I started with a black ink, and at first I unscrewed the whole lid. I didn't understand that there is a second lid on top. So make sure that the big lid is screwed on tight, and you want to unscrew the small lid on top, and that is a drip-free applicator. And so you just open up the covering for whatever kind of ink you're filling. So I'm starting with black, so I've got the cover open for the black. And then all you do is put this little bottle of ink right down over the port on the tank, and it automatically begins to fill. You can feel the bubbles in the ink, coming up through the bottle as it's filling the tank. And you can see the ink level on the front of the tank as it's filling. And then you just continue doing this process with all of the colors until the tanks are full. Then close the lid to the ink tank and close the scanner lid, and it's time to plug up the machine. You don't hook it up to your computer just yet, only the plug from the machine to your electrical outlet. Then power on the machine, pushing the power button on the front, and follow the on-screen instructions in the little LCD panel. It will walk you through really simple steps like picking your language and then charging your ink. And I believe this is getting your ink started going through the printer. The first use of your printer is the only time that you'll need to charge your ink. From here on out, you'll just replenish your ink tanks as needed. Getting the ink going will deplete your tanks a little bit, so if you choose to, you can top them off. Then it will have you print a test page to make sure that your print is as high quality as it can be. The next step is to install the software and drivers onto your computer, and if your EcoTank unit does not come with a disk that you put into your computer, there is a website that is provided in the manual that will tell you where to go in order to download those via the internet. And it's really easy. It's a setup wizard, and it walks you through very simple steps, and it doesn't take very long. And because this printer has Wi-Fi connectability, I'm able to even print using my iPhone. And so I use the Pages app, and I pull up an image that I got from the cottage market, and I will leave a link in my description box below for this very picture, and we are ready to print our first sublimation print. I also want to note that in most cases, if you have a print that has a word on it or wording, you will need to mirror the image. But because I'm putting this image on a see-through cutting board, then I do not need to mirror the image in this case. The next step is to load your sublimation paper into the printer. It has to be sublimation paper or it won't work. I'm using the Wokok brand because I'm doing a review for them today. And my first impression was the packaging was very nice. I liked the cardboard, and it's not flimsy, and you can keep your paper stored right here in this package. Both sides of the paper looked absolutely identical, so I was assuming that it really didn't matter if there was a front or a back side to print on. They were the same. I also really liked with the Wokok brand that there were tips on the back of the box to help you be the most successful with your sublimation printing. And it also had the suggested times and pressures and temperatures for the different kinds of things that you would be transferring onto. And I am making a glass cutting board, so I will be following the temperature guide and the timing for the glass substrate. The first printing was so exciting to me. I couldn't wait to see how this beautiful design came out. And I want you to be aware that when you're doing sublimation printing, that the ink will appear more dull on the paper than what it actually will be when you get it pressed onto your t-shirt or your glass, whatever you're pressing onto. Okay, so what is really exciting about this very first project that I chose to do is that it is a glass cutting board, and you know where you can find glass cutting boards? The Dollar Tree. So keep that in mind as I'm teaching you how to do this. So I have obviously sized my image before I printed it. I sized it to about the same size as the cutting board. It was a little short at the top and bottom, but that was okay. Now we look at the suggested transfer guidance on the back of the box, and you see on the glass it is the temperature 356 to 401 for about 300 seconds. So I'm using my Cricut Easy Press today, and I am going to set my temperature at 385 because I've done a little bit of research beforehand, and I knew that most people were using 385 or 400. I'm starting at 385 because these things are just a little tiny bit scary to me working with heat, but you shouldn't be afraid. I'm also going to press in 90-second increments. It's all going to add up to 300 seconds, but I'm doing 90-second increments because my Easy Press doesn't fit over the entire piece here, so I'll have to work in sections. The next thing you'll need is some heat-resistant tape, and this is to hold your image in place while you're pressing. You'll need to cover your project with a piece of craft paper, butcher paper, or parchment paper, and this protects the sublimation from going onto your heat press. So my Easy Press is all heated up at 385 degrees, so I'm going to hold it down on the bottom section for 90 seconds. When that time is up, then I'm going to move up to the top section for 90 seconds. Please be very careful when you are working with this because it's going to be very, very hot. But I very carefully removed the craft paper to see how we were doing, and you can see in the corners where my heat press wasn't exactly getting everywhere. So then I started doing the corners. I did each of the 4 corners for 90 seconds. And after I did the corners, it was perfect. Now, heat protection for your hands. You really should let this cool, but it's going to take a long time to cool because it's very hot glass. But I removed my heat tape and I wanted to see the reveal so bad. And here it is, the first sublimation printing of my life, and you were here to see it. And I think it turned out just gorgeous. It is exactly what I wanted for my farmhouse kitchen. It was so easy to do, and I can see making a lot of these, maybe one for every season. And here is the exact cutting board that I used, and I will leave a link in my description box below if you want to use this exact one. In my excitement at how wonderful this turned out, I almost forgot the very final step, which is to put the little feet on the back of the cutting board. And they are made by 3M, and so they're just peel and stick. And here are the final result pictures. So thank you to the Wokok company for sending me all these fabulous products. You all can get them too. I'll leave links in my description box below where you can get them. And I'll see you next time. Bye.